بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So this is going to be a selection from a book regarding a topic. As far as the topic, then it is the topic of is a woman required to remove her plaits, her braids, her twists, her dreads, whatever tying or fastening up of her hair, binding and winding up of her hair that she has at the time of washing, making a ghusl, making a ritual bath with regards to the end of her cycle, the end of her period, the end of her menstrual cycle, the end of her monthly cycle, her monthly period. When she's making a ghusl to start making salah again, or to fast, or to have intercourse with her husband, or to make tawaf, etc., or to enter into the masjid, or read the Quran, or touch the mushaf, does she need to undo, untie, untwist, unwrap, unravel, unwind, unbind her hair, or not? Does she have to? Or can she perform the ghusl with her hair still in the plaits and in the braids? Regardless of the type of plait or the type of braids, whether it's a twist, a French braid, plait, dreads, whatever the case may be, whatever the cultural or racial association may be, and regardless of the type of hair that she has, does she have to undo her hair or not? In the same manner or the similar manner in which she makes a ghusl from janaba once she was sexually active with her husband, or she had a wet dream, or she made zina with her boyfriend, or whatever the case may be, whatever the scenario which caused the woman to be junub, different reasons behind a person being or becoming junub. So that's the issue. And as far as the book, then the book is we're going to read from a book which is called توضيح الأحكام في أو بشرح بلوغ المرام من أدلة الأحكام. Okay, it's a book called توضيح الأحكام by Sheikh Abdullah Bassam, may Allah have mercy upon him, and we'll read from volume 1, page 400. He says, قال رحمه الله خلاف العلماء قال في الشرح الكبير لا يجب على المرأة نقض شعرها لغسلها من الجنابة رواية واحدة ولا نعلم في هذا خلافا إلا عن ابن عمر والنخعي ولا نعلم أحدا وافقهما على ذلك. So the first point, the author is quoting from an older book which is called Ash-Sharh al-Kabir, which is a book well known in the Hanbali school of thought. The Hanbali school of thought. He says, a woman doesn't have to untie, she doesn't have to unravel her hair when she makes ghusl janaba, when she performs ghusl janaba. And this is only one version, this is only one opinion that we have from Imam Ahmed. There's no record or report that Imam Ahmed said anything other than this, contrary to this. He was asked over and over again, different times by different disciples, and he said the same thing, that she doesn't have to remove her braids and plaits when she washes from janaba. The author then says, and we don't know of any scholar that said otherwise, that said something contrary to what Imam Ahmed said, except for what's mentioned from Abdullah ibn Umar, the companion, and Ibrahim al-Nakhai, the tabi'i. They had a contrary view. But we don't know of any other companions and any other successor who agreed with that view. لما روت سلمة أنها قالت يا رسول الله إني امرأة أشد شعر رأسي أفأنقضه للجنابة قال لا إنما يكفيك أن تحثي على رأسك 3 حثيات ثم تفيضين عليك بالماء فتطهرين به. رواه Muslim. And the author of this book says the proof of this issue or discussion is the narration as reported by Imam Muslim. Salama asked the Messenger of Allah, O Messenger of Allah, indeed I plait my hair, I tie my hair, I braid my hair. Do I have to remove these braids or plaits when I make the ghusl of janaba? The Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, no. The only thing that you have to do is to pour water on your head 3 times, pour water on the rest of your body, and then you will be purified. You will be clean. You'll be ritually, spiritually clean. You'll be out of janaba. قال في المغني اتفق الأئمة الأربعة على أن نقضه غير واجب. It states in another book of the Hanbali school of thought, the book of Ibn Qudama, called Al-Mughni. He said that the four Imams agree is that a woman doesn't have to remove her braids, her plaits, when she makes ghusl of janaba. All of them agree is that a woman doesn't have to do that. She isn't required to remove her hair, her plaiting or braiding of her hair when she washes up from janaba. All right, that's the bedrock, the groundwork, the foundation of the next issue, the next discussion. He then says, the author, Sheikh Bassam, واختلفوا في وجوب نقض شعر المرأة لغسلها من الحيض. The scholars differ on the next issue, which is, does a woman have to remove her plaits and braids when she washes from menstruation? فذهب الإمام أحمد في المشهور من مذهبه إلى وجوب نقضه. قال مهنا سألت أحمد عن المرأة تنقض شعرها من الحيض، قال نعم، فقلت له كيف تنقضه من الحيض ولا تنقضه من الجنابة؟ فقال حدثت أسماء عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال تنقضه. The first view is the view of Imam Ahmed, that states that a woman must remove the plaits and the braids. She has to undo and untie her hair. She has to, that's a must. There is a disciple of Imam Ahmed whose name was Muhanna. He says, I asked Ahmed about this, and he said, yes, she must. I then asked him, why does she have to remove her plaits or her braids for menses, but not at the time of janaba? Imam Ahmed said, Asma reported this from the Prophet ﷺ. That's the end of that quote. ولما جاء في البخاري ومسلم من حديث عائشة أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لها إذا كنت حائضا فانقضي رأسك وامتشطي. The author of Tawdih al-Ahkam, Sheikh Bassam, may Allah have mercy upon him, he says, another proof that those scholars use is the narration in Bukhari and Muslim that Aisha radiallahu anha, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, told her, when you're menstruating, remove the plaits from your hair. Fanqudi, untie, unfasten your hair. Ra'saki, wamtashiti, and comb your hair. Comb your hair. All right, طيب. The second proof that they have, ولأن أصل وجوب نقض الشعر ليتيقن وصول الماء إلى ما تحته فعفي عنه في غسل الجنابة لأنه يكثر فيشق ذلك بخلاف الحيض. They also say is that the default is that the hair should be removed, or the hair should be untied, the braid should be removed. That way you can make sure that the water reaches the scalp. You make sure that the water reaches the scalp. And she doesn't have to do it when she makes her ghusl janaba, because the ghusl janaba is supposed to be something frequent. She's married, she's sexually active, her husband is supposed to go to her, enjoy her, they're supposed to have a normal healthy sex life. So she's supposed to be making the ghusl often. It's going to be something that she's going to be doing back to back over and over again during her clean, pure cycle state, versus the menstruating state that is only monthly, in most cases only once. طيب. That's the first view. The second view, he says, وذهب أكثر العلماء ومنهم الأئمة الثلاثة إلى أنه لا يجب لما روى مسلم عن أم سلمة أنها قالت يا رسول الله إني أشد ضفر رأسي أفأنقضه لغسل الجنابة قال إنما يكفيك أن تحثي على رأسك 3 حثيات. And most of the scholars, he said, the second view, most of the scholars, from them is Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Malik, they held the opposite view, as that a woman doesn't have to remove her plaits and her braids for both baths, both showers, sexual intercourse and monthly cycle. And they use as a proof the narration of Salama radiallahu ta'ala anha, O Messenger of Allah, I plait my hair, I braid my hair, should I remove it for the janaba? The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no. The only thing that you have to do is pour the hair over your head 3 times. The author says, وهي رواية عن الإمام أحمد اختارها الموفق والمجد والشارح والشيخ تقي الدين وغيرهم لحديث أم سلمة السابق. Now, without getting confusing, he then quotes that there are other Hanbali scholars who say that Imam Ahmad said this as well, even though we previously read that Imam Ahmad only said one view. And this is an example, a perfect example of how there is a confusion and how there are discrepancies and how there are levels within the study of a madhab. And the one who tells you that studying of a madhab is a utopia, it's easy, it's simple, it's perfect, everything will be laid out, and if you don't study a madhab, you'll be confused, is lying to you. He's not telling you the truth. He's not being honest. Within a madhab, there are wars. And within a madhab, there are different views and opinions, and there are arguments within one madhab, as we've just read. Moving forward. He then says, many Hanbali scholars, they have chosen that Imam Ahmad said this, such as Ibn Qudama, Majd, etc., to the end of the list of those names. And then the author, he quotes a modern day scholar. He says, قال الشيخ عبد العزيز بن باز الصحيح أنه لا يجب عليها نقضه في غسل الحيض لما ورد في بعض روايات أم سلمة أن مسلم أنها قالت للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إني أشد ضفر رأسي أفأنقض للحيض والجنابة قال لا. Sheikh Ibn Baz, he quotes by saying the correct view is that it isn't obligatory. And he mentions the narration of Salama. And he says in one version of this hadith, she not only asked him about the janaba bath, but she also asked him about the menstruation bath. And the Messenger of Allah ﷺ replied in the negative. You don't have to take out your hair. Moving forward, he says, وَمَذْهَبُ الْجُمْهُورِ أنه إذا وصل الماء إلى جميع شعرها ظاهره وباطنه من غير نقض لم يجب النقض. And he says, in the majority of the scholars, they hold the view is that if the water reaches the scalp, if the water reaches the head, the hair, then a woman doesn't have to remove her braids and her plaits, her twists. It isn't obligatory. طيب. He then quotes another scholar. He says, وقال الشيخ محمد بن إبراهيم الراجح في الدليل عدم وجوب النقض في غسل الحيض كعدم وجوبه في الجنابة إلى أنه في الحيض مشروع للأدلة والأمر فيه ليس للوجوب بدليل حديث أم سلمة وهذا اختيار صاحب الإنصاف وأما الجنابة فليس مندوبا في حقها وإنما هو متأكد في الحيض. And then he quotes other scholars who have this similar view of the past and of the present. He then states, ودليل من لا يجب النقض بعض روايات حديث سلمة التي ذكرت الحيض مع الجنابة وقد قال ابن القيم عن بعض هذه الروايات الصحيح في حديث سلمة الاختصار على ذكر الجنابة دون الحيض وليس نقض شعر الرأس بمحفوظ للحائض. وقال الشيخ الألباني إن ذكر الحيضة في الحديث الشاذ لا يثبت وبهذا فمذهب الإمام أحمد قوي في هذه المسألة وأن حمل الحديثين على الاستحباب محمل حسن. And then he goes on to quote different scholars who criticize that narration. And they say that Salama only asked the Messenger of Allah ﷺ about janaba. And the version that states that she asked him about menstruation, they say is an incorrect narration. It is irregular, it's peculiar, it is a solitary or solemn narration, it's shadh, it's irregular, it isn't sound. But instead it's a mistake from one of the narrators. And the only thing that Salama asked him about was janaba and not menstruation. Stop, pause the tape. You see here that the scholars of fiqh differ and the scholars of hadith differ. And in most cases, the differing of the scholars of fiqh is going to be based off of the differing of the scholars of hadith. So the hadith being sound or not is their consensus, is their agreement, versus their different views concerning the narrations and the validity and the soundness and the authenticity of those narrations. Okay. طيب. So therefore, there are some who say that the narration mentions both menses and janaba, therefore it isn't obligatory. And there are those who say the hadith only mentions janaba, therefore it's obligatory. It goes back to the asl of getting the hair to the scalp with regards to the menstruation. And then there are those who say that it's recommended and it's not necessarily obligatory. And obviously one is going to conclude by saying if a woman feels confident that the hair is going to reach the roots, that the hair is going to reach the scalp, even with the braids, then, or the plaits, then khalas. That's the most important thing. That seems to be the correct view. Wallahu ta'ala alam. The safest thing to do, of course, to be on the safe side, is to remove them when you make the ghusl for both, especially for menstruation. However, that may be a difficulty or a hardship. So the most important thing is that the water reaching the scalp. And of course, there are other parts of this discussion with regards to a man wearing braids. Does a man have to remove his braids when he makes wudu, when he makes ghusl, so on and so forth? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best, and with him is all success.